Hey everyone, today I'm back with my cup of tea and another funky fresh video for you. So I am really excited about this one. I was really happy with how it turned out, and initially I took inspiration from the fairy house that was in The Sims 3 that you could kind of put down if your sim was a fairy, they could go into it, they could have parties, they could sleep in it, they could pretty much live out of that little house, and I just had so much fun playing with it. It was probably one of my favorite Sims 3 items. I also got an idea off Pinterest because I found a photo that looked kind of like a real life version of that house. And I think that's kind of a reoccurring theme in my builds, The Sims 3 and Pinterest. I often find it helpful to have a reference photo for my builds. I suppose kind of like painting or drawing, having a reference photo just helps make things look a bit better, and instead of taking something from reference, I think it looks a lot more accurate, and I definitely think my builds turn out better when I use a reference photo. So I usually only use them for the front of the house. Maybe I'll find like a picture of an interior though. Usually one specific room or one specific like little thing, like maybe they've got some brick around a fireplace and I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. And I'll base my whole build off that one little thing, which I think's kind of fun. I think it's fun to take inspiration that way, and I really like how this one turned out. It wasn't as wonky on the Pinterest photo as I made it to be. It definitely was a lot more structured, but I kind of mixed the two ideas that I had, and I ended up with this wonky, witchy house that's got this dark brick exterior and lots of greenery. In the back of the house, I ended up putting its own little kind of pond or lake or whatever you'd like to call it, and I had so much fun doing it. I didn't really know what else I was going to put back there, and I did try a few different things off camera, but nothing really worked out how I wanted it to. So I did end up putting my own little pond in there. I used the pool tool, so I'm not too sure if your Sims can actually swim in it. There's a lot of stuff around it, so I don't think they will be able to, but it does look pretty, and I think that's what really matters. So this build was definitely something more out of my comfort zone. It's not really something I've built before at all. It's definitely new to me. I've seen other creators build similar things and they do such a beautiful job of it that I was like, I don't even know if I want to try. But I did really want to build a fairy house, so I gave it a crack, and it turned out a lot better than I expected. It's an interesting floor plan and an interesting kind of build in general. It's not your typical build, but I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it really fits in where it is. So I did place it in Glimmerbrook because it is supposed to be kind of a witchy house, and that was the Realm of Magic world. I also used a lot of the windows from Realm of Magic, which I think are really beautiful. I really liked the stained glass windows that came with that pack, and I wanted to use them all around this house, but it wasn't looking super normal and it didn't really match, and it kind of seemed like overkill having them everywhere. So I just used the plain swatches of them, but they ended up looking really beautiful in the end, and it did look better when I painted my house. It looked a bit weird having this white wall, and I think that's why I struggled a little bit as well, because I thought the white wall was going to be my final wall, but it wasn't. So this house does have a very wonky, off-centered look to it. Nothing's really aligned properly. Even the windows are a bit all over the shop. But that was intentional. It was meant to look like that. I ended up covering a lot of the outside with greenery, as you can see. I pretty much put it on nearly every wall because I imagine that this home is really overgrown. Maybe there's lots of vines growing up everywhere, lots of plants in the backyard, lots of plants in the front yard. It's just it's very full, and it feels very cozy and very warm. I used a lot of warm tone colors. I used this really warm kind of base game wood, and I put a fireplace inside, of course. I managed to squish in 2 bathrooms, I believe. I managed to get a downstairs bathroom in at the last minute. I seem to have a really bad habit of forgetting that Sims need to use the bathroom. So maybe I will only put like 1 ensuite bathroom in, or 1 downstairs bathroom, or 1 upstairs bathroom, but it's usually in a really inconvenient spot because I always have this idea in mind for the floor plan, and then when I get to the floor plan and I've put in everything I want, I realize I haven't put in a bathroom, which is possibly one of the more necessary things than a lounge room. Usually I'll have like 3 lounge rooms to no bathrooms, which isn't very good because your Sims, while they love to sit around, they definitely do need to use the bathroom more than they need to sit. So I fixed that up in the end, and there was 2 bathrooms. The upstairs one I'm really excited for you guys to see, because I did do something a little bit different with this one as well, just because it was such an odd shape. I had to work around it a bit more, and I really liked how it turned out in the end. I also played around with terrain tools on this lot as well. You may have seen in the beginning I tried to put it up on a kind of raised terrain, but that didn't really work out how I wanted it to, and it just wasn't looking smooth. So I abandoned that, and I ended up going around in the end and just using a little bit of terrain tools kind of around the sides of the platform, or the sides of the foundation, and around the pond, which I am currently building. I also put in loads of the little lily pads from Snowy Escape, just because they have the little fish that swim around them, and I think that's such a fun little detail, and I think it's possibly one of my favorite items. I love the little fish that swim around it. I think it's so beautiful, and I really liked how they looked, and it definitely fit in really well with this pond. I ended up in the end also going through debug and using a lot of items in there, which was really fun because I don't normally use too many debug items. I don't think I usually just get like sick of scrolling through debug as well, and I can never find the one thing I'm thinking of, so I don't often use it, and they can be a little bit fiddly at times. But this build, I had so much fun in debug. I used a few different debug plants, and I used a lot of Realm of Magic stuff. I tried to use nearly everything from the Realm of Magic pack. However, I did not keep this build pack specific, which I possibly could have done because it is mostly just Realm of Magic and a few other little things. But I was just having so much fun with it that I kind of just wanted to go all out and make it seem as magical as I possibly could. I managed to use all of the Realm of Magic kitchen things. I used all the lounge chairs, the dining table, the dining chairs. I used the desk, the bed. I think I used some bathroom stuff from Vampires. I also used these candle lights throughout because I think they brought a really cozy feel to the home. I did go in with a sim though and make them a little bit whiter, because while the candles colour now is definitely realistic, it's too yellow. So I did make it a lighter yellow, which looked a lot better, and it looks a lot nicer when you're actually playing the game. So hopefully you enjoy that. I really wanted to use the fireplace that came with Realm of Magic as well, because it's one of my favourite fireplaces. It's so impractical, and I think I've only used it maybe once before, because it's just so specific. Like, you could not just chuck it in any house. It has to have the house built around this fireplace pretty much. and it was just too big in the end for this house, and I didn't want to have to make my fireplace chimney any wider than it already was, because I think it would have interfered too much with the overall look. The bathroom downstairs is accessible next to the little platform before you go into the kitchen. It's just pretty basic. I didn't do anything too exciting with the bathroom, just everything your sim needs. I ended up putting a washing basket in each bathroom, and I used the washing tub for your Sims to wash their clothes, because I figured maybe they do it by magic, or maybe they just hand wash their clothes. I don't imagine they'd have access to too much electricity here. I did put a desk with a computer and a tiny little television in for practicality, but I feel like if this were a bit more realistic, I probably wouldn't have included those items, because they don't really match the overall aesthetic of the build, but they are definitely kind of necessary when you're actually playing. I went for a lot of purples and whites with the gardening as well. I think it just looked really fun, and I did go through and actually put some debug crystals in. I used the massive crystals that come with Realm of Magic, and they're in the debug menu. I had to actually size them down so they'd look semi-normal, and I put them through the garden. I just think it looked really fun. I think if you're going to live in a witchy house, you may as well have some big crystals in your yard. Maybe their crystals harness the power of the moon, and that's what fuels their house. I'm not sure. You can imagine it however you like, but I just had a lot of fun thinking about that. I also put the little pergola out the front with the cauldron inside. I think that would just be such a fun place to practice magic out the front of your yard, in your crystal garden. Maybe you just pop out the back to the pool. They can't actually go anywhere from the back deck, but they can overlook it into the little swampy, lakey pond. I had a lot of fun building that, if you can't tell. I also had a lot of fun with these little lights that you see now from Debug. They were a little bit painful to place. You have to place them one at a time, but I really did put them everywhere in this build. They are just kind of little glowing orbs, and they look so pretty at night. And they are part of the Realm of Magic pack. You see them all through the Realm of Magic world, especially when you travel to kind of through the magic portal. And I ended up using them coming out of the chimney. So when I was building fiddling around with the top of the roof, I felt like I needed some extra things in the build. So I ended up making it look like those little lights came out of the roof, and then I put a few downstairs in the fireplace, just so it kind of looked like the magic was kind of flowing around everywhere. It really is kind of bursting with this sense of magic, and I had a lot of fun doing that. You can kind of see the bathroom now. I didn't include it in the video, but the bath is through its own little door, and I don't know what it is about putting one item in its own little room, but it's just a lot of fun. I think it just looked really cute, and it has little curtains, and maybe you can close off the curtain if someone wants to pop into the bathroom. And I just had so much fun with it. I also had a lot of fun with the upstairs, but it was really kind of painful to furnish just because the roof kept getting in the way, and I wanted to put items on the walls, so I couldn't put the walls down because then I wouldn't have been able to see, and it was a little bit painful, so I did cut most of it out of the video just because there was a lot of the camera jumping around. But I'm really happy with it in the end, and I tried to get some really good screenshots so you can see what's going on. I also put a little rocking chair upstairs, and I put some cat items around, because if you're going to live as a witch, you can't not have a cat. I think it's just witch law. Maybe you have a dog as well, but you definitely need a cat. So I put cat items. It was actually really helpful to take up this little space. I was going to put another desk downstairs, but that didn't really make sense to me, because I figured if they're practicing witchcraft, they're not going to want to sit at a desk and play Blick Block. So I didn't include that. I ended up going through in the end, as you see now, and kind of including a lot of debug items. I had a lot of fun with the paintings, especially the galaxy paintings, a lot of vampire stuff, and just kind of little quirky items that wouldn't necessarily be used in many other builds. I think that's what's really fun about a build like this as well, is I do get to use items that I wouldn't normally use, and swatches of like wallpaper that I wouldn't normally use. I really like this floral vine wallpaper, but I feel like I don't use it as often as I would like to. Oh, I also put a cow plant in because how can you not have a Sims which build without a cow plant? And I put in some debug plants because I imagine they're gardening, maybe they harvest their own herbs. I put a few pots and things around, but there is a heap of room in the front yard for your Sims to put some more plants in, maybe grow some plants inside. I didn't go too overboard with putting debug plants. I figured as you play the game you may want to add your own, maybe you want to find your own plants, and I don't want to just chuck them all in and have it done. I like to leave a little bit of space for your Sims to add their own items in and to have fun with that. I spent a lot of time scrolling through the debug menu in this, and I have so much respect for people that build items that look like other items with the debug menu. Like maybe they make CC looking counters using debug items, and I don't know how they do it because my patience is just not built for debug. It just gets so sick of trying to find this one item. And there was one point I was searching for this one specific thing. I think I was searching for the lights at first, and it took me forever to find them. I had to stop recording at one point just to kind of scroll through and find the items I was after because it was taking so long. I probably spent like 20 minutes scrolling back and forth really slowly because I just couldn't find the item, which was kind of funny, but I don't know how people do that all the time. I would get so frustrated with it, and I did get a little bit frustrated. I also included a lot of skill building items in this, and I just think it would be so fun to play in as a witch. I would have so much fun living in this house as me, as I am now. But I hope you guys all enjoy. We are into the screenshots now. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you want to download this, my gallery ID will be in the description. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, rest of your day. I hope you have a great time. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy my future builds. If you want to watch some more, please subscribe or leave a comment if you have any comments. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!